Assistant Defense Secretary Peter Brookes. I always use, Peter, you use the facts and the international expertise that makes you great at what you do. I'm a selfish money guy who looks at how the markets play it. And those guys and those defense stocks are a good proxy for the time being about where they think this is going. And they don't think that this is going to be too damaging to Saudi Arabia or their deals. What do you think?
Well, we'll see. We have a political crisis here. We've got a personal tragedy. I think the investigations have to play themselves out, and then the administration will look at their options and take action. I think current contracts are probably not going to be touched. Remember, this is just not U.S. The Canadians are also selling things to the Saudis. Right. The Europeans, they're selling Eurofighter, which is big. They buy American. The Saudis buy American aircraft. They buy European aircraft. So there's things here. I think current contracts are going to be fine. The future we'll have to see. Now, Congress can play a role here, Neil. Congress has been concerned for a long time about Saudi involvement in Yemen and our support of their efforts there. There was something in the National Defense Authorization Act last year that the president signed about the State Department having to certify that the Saudis are looking for a way to ease or find peace there and to ease the tremendous humanitarian situation there. So the administration will take some actions, and then, of course, Congress has a say as well. So we'll have to see where this goes and what we find out from these investigations. I don't think a knee-jerk reaction at this point is appropriate. It
is weird, though, if you think about it, Peter, that there was no moral outrage over what's been happening in Yemen and the deaths of all those thousands of Yemenis, most of them resistant to the kingdom. But this one journalist, I'm not minimizing his position or role or cruel way in which he apparently died, and whether they were behind it, but it's a mixed message, is it not?
Well, I guess it depends on who you're listening to, Neil. I mean, there have been people talking out about both of these things. You're right. Yemen may be underplayed. It is actually an important interest of the United States. I wouldn't say it's a vital national interest, but if you look at what's going on there, the Iranians are using a proxy force to try to gain control of the country. Yemen is a strategically located country. If you look at the Suez Canal, the Arabian Sea, the Gulf of Aden, Iran, this is part of Iran's expansionism. It's also part of what's happening in Syria because of Iranian involvement there, and you've seen the news that was broken by Fox News about the shipment of weapons to Hezbollah in Lebanon by Iran. So Saudi Arabia is an important partner of the United States and has been for a long time, especially when you talk about Gulf security, and as a money guy about oil and other things, and then there's the defense sales. So it's a very complicated relationship, and it's important that the administration look at all of these important aspects as it tries to protect and advance American interests in light of this tragedy.
No, and I know there's a lot of preaching back and forth here, but I'm old enough to remember when we abandoned the Shah of Iran, who was certainly not St. Joseph, and he was not a nice guy. But we learned afterwards that the guy who followed him was less of a nice guy and alienated us in the region, and a very tense relationship that, to your point, exists to this day. So I'm just hastening to add, with a look to history, we should be careful what we wish for, right?
Yeah, of course, we have to, and that's why I think it's important that these three investigations play out. I think some people think they know what they're going to get from the Saudis about this, right? The Turks, there's all sorts of rumor out there. They've not given, maybe they've given something to us officially that we don't know about, but they've not been out there with it.
Do you believe that this tape exists, by the way, the video and audio tape?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it exists. It's possible that the Turks had the Saudi embassy bugged, right, as an intelligence project.
Apparently no one else has seen it, or maybe they're just, denying that they haven't seen it. But you would think something like that would have gotten out by now.
Well, it's possible, and they're probably being cautious. Maybe they want to share it with the United States first. The United States is going to do its own investigation. The White House has already, the president has already condemned this. The Mnuchin, Secretary of Treasury Mnuchin, is not going to Davos in the desert, that economic conference next week in Riyadh. And I think we have to play these sort of things out and find out what's going on before we make some concrete decisions that will affect a very important relationship that's political, economic, and security related.
All right, but if it maintains itself, in other words, whatever happens, whatever punishment is meted out, but the Crown Prince stays, how is that going to be taken?
I don't think the Crown Prince is going anywhere, Neil. I mean, I heard you say that in an earlier segment. I don't think he's going anywhere. There should be accountability, though, and there are many ways of deriving accountability for these acts that are alleged.
All right, that's very interesting. Peter Brookes, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Bush 43 Deputy Assistant Defense Secretary, Heritage Foundation Senior Fellow.